I'm here.
Hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. We are live. We are back on the Sportskeeda Wrestle Bin, Sportskeeda Facebook pages for another edition of Smack Talk, reviewing SmackDown with myself and the legendary, the first of the dirties in wrestling and the greatest mustache in the
Well,
world,
I'm
Dutch
not.
Mantell.
Well, I am one of the first. I am not the first with the dirty though, but I probably made it the most famous. I think so.
There you go. Take your credit. The
Let's
most
yeah.
famous dirty.
Nobody else is going to give it to me. I heard it a long time ago. Hey, if you don't put yourself over, nobody else is going to do it. So I've been putting myself over, but it hadn't worked too good. But I try anyway.
How you doing, Dutch? How's it feel to be back live?
Well, it feels good. It really does. Uh, Last week, what happened to us last week? Anything happened to us last week? Yep.
I don't know. I
We
was
had
available.
I know what happened. I was on location,
There you go.
and internet. Don't blame us, folks. We do our jobs, but hell, you can't. I mean, you can't make a signal go through from one computer to another to transformer to something else and make sure it works. So we were lined up. It just the technology couldn't handle us. So I'm gonna handle it like that. So,
There you go.
but so you want to talk? I guess I'm assuming that you want to talk about the show tonight.
Yes,
Is that it?
there's a lot for us to discuss on tonight's show, the go home show ahead of tomorrow night's SummerSlam. If you want to hear our thoughts, our predictions, a preview of this year's SummerSlam, me and Dutch did that here on the Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel, so you could check that out. There is some clips, some portions of that preview that is available for you to watch right now. But if you're watching this right now, remember to drop the thumbs up on the video, share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Hill Heat, not True Hill Heat, Sportskeeda WrestleBinge YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. And of course, sound off in the live chat. We love to hear your thoughts on tonight's SmackDown, as well as everything me and Dutch is going to discuss throughout the show. But Dutch, it's in the headline, so let's start off with that. A lot of controversy was stirred up this week in the world of AEW, in what was otherwise a lot of positive news in regards to All Elite Wrestling this week with its 200th episode of Dynamite on TBS. You had the Elite, Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page, and the Young Bucks re-sign with AEW this week. But a lot of the news and the headlines has been going to the fact that Lufisto came out with a kind of a scathing tweet towards AEW following last week's conversation after the sign was kind of zoomed in on and focused on AEW Dynamite that said book the women's division better. Me and you kind of talked about it. That's going to be dropping on the Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel. But Lufisto said basically that there's certain people that are complaining about the women's division, but they're kind of part of the problem, and they have like a toxic locker room, basically accusations of that. She had an interview with Sean Rossap of Fightful, where she talked about more information about it during her time as an enhancement talent on AEW Dark last year. She had an altercation with Dustin Rhodes and Ruby Soho. She was involved in a 6-woman tag where she only spent about like a minute or two in the ring involved in the matchup. But then after the matchup, Dustin Rhodes, who is one of the producers for the AEW women's division, basically let her know that she made the women that are contracted talent look bad, apparently. And you had Ruby Soho, she said, didn't really treat her nicely and was kind of mean to her. And she also said that Dustin Rhodes says that all French Canadians are quote unquote assholes. So that
No, he
whole
didn't say that.
apparently so.
That is so mean.
We
That
got
is mean.
after,
Seriously, are these adults?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure anymore. I'm not
I
too
don't
sure.
know. Okay, explain something to me. Who is this Lafista girl?
She's an independent talent. She's been on the independent
Yeah,
scene for the
where's
better
she
part of
from?
2 decades.
Where's she from?
Well, obviously French Canadian. She's a French Canadian.
Okay.
she's from Canada.
Oh, but she's a little bit older than those other girls, I think.
Yeah, she's been in the business for more than 2 decades. Yeah, she's a veteran of the independent
Oh,
scene.
2
She's
decades.
made the independent wrestling Hall of Fame last year.
Oh, okay. Well, I read the article she wrote, and I wasn't there, but and she didn't mention any names. I don't think. I think she mentioned Dustin.
You mean in the tweet?
No, and she wrote an article then,
Oh, okay.
right? But so she's talking about she showed up for she had a cup of coffee basically, and went into the ring, and she was in there for what, a minute?
Minute or two.
Okay, and she came out, and then Dustin apparently dragged her a little bit and said she made all the rest of them look bad. I don't know how you can do that in a minute. It can be done, I'm sure, but I don't think she got any instruction and not a lot of direction. So she was flying blind. So I'm not going to blame her, nor am I going to blame the AEW backstage personnel, because I think my personal opinion is that the AEW backstage is a mess. I don't think once it leaves Tony's hands and he delegates all these other representatives to pick up what needs to be done, I think I don't think nobody knows. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So when she said, "What do you want me to do? Get in? No, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that." So I don't know the truth on it, but what I would like to say is I think Tony needs to be a boss. He needs to go, and he owns the company, and he needs to kind of straighten his backstage out. And she had gone to see Tony specifically, and she kept asking about him. You know, he's busy. I know how backstages are. It's pandemonium. So I think the girl was basically lost from the get go, and there was no way to get out of that. So I do think he needs a little bit of more. Well, not a little bit. He needs a hell of a lot more structure backstage. And who put out that what Lufisto said in the tweet was wrong about the girls? Ruby Soho. What did she say?
Well, a number of AEW talent earlier today put out basically mass tweets at the same time, which seems to kind of indicate that it was kind of a message from their PR department, basically either disparaging Lufisto or talking about how much they enjoy their time in the AEW locker room, and there's no bit of toxic energy. It's more positivity. But this started from Lufisto's tweet yesterday after Dustin Rhodes responded to her interview talking about kind of his role as a trainer and a producer for AEW and why sometimes it needs hard love, whether he loves or hates something, he has to be honest about it. Lufisto responded and said, had a 1-hour phone call with a current AEW talent. The women who actually addressed the problems I did today were the ones sent home by Tony Khan. There was a meeting to shoot on Thunder Rosa that Khan attended. Before leaving, he reminded them that their segments were the lowest. When some girls arranged a meeting to talk about Baker's crew, one of them ran to Britt to let her know. The girls that wanted to address the problem were the ones punished. things didn't get better, they got worse. The legit wrestlers believe Tony doesn't give a damn about women's wrestling and feel like they are going back to the Divas era. Ask me, who the fuck am I? Tell me I'm irrelevant and that I'm doing this for attention. Call me a liar. Tell me to kill myself. You keep on closing your eyes and supporting human beings with shitty behavior, with the messages of support, and especially this phone call I received from AEW employees. This nobody did the right thing.
And that was the girl named Lufisto.
Lufisto.
Okay. Well, listen, there's got to be some smoke there. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
I don't think this came off out of the blue, because she would like a job with AEW, and this is probably the worst way to get a job. Now, I was in TNA, and I was with a bunch of women, and I was the one who came up with the idea, hey, let's have a women's division, and nobody liked it. Even Dixie didn't like it. You would think a woman in charge of a wrestling company would really like that, but she didn't really like it. Nobody saw the benefit of it. But I said, well, I just kept on and kept on, and Gail Kim gave me a tape of Awesome Kong, Amazing Kong, and I watched that tape. And next time I saw Gail, I said, I want her. She said, when do you want her? I said, yesterday. Let's get her down here as fast as we can. And we got her down there, and we started a women's division against everybody's, I guess, trepidation. You like that word, trepidation? I think against everybody, they started picking up ratings and getting a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And finally, they were the top drawing segments on Impact, on TNA Impact. They were the top drawing segments. And then I brought this up before, but we put Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong, or Amazing Kong, I think we ended up calling her. I think. It's been a long time ago. But they ended up doing
She was Amazing Kong in Japan. Y'all made her Awesome Kong.
Awesome Kong. It was one or the other. But they ended up doing a segment number that was a record for, except for one other segment, and that's when Hulk Hogan came in, and he topped it, but not much. But the girls were good, because I called them together one time, and I made them feel like a unit. I said, girls, listen, you're no longer bitches and whores and sluts. You're athletes. And I want you to go out there, and I want you to show these guys how to draw ratings. And that seemed to bring them together as a unit. And, you know, when you get a bunch of women together, and I've seen this in WWE too, you do have your prima donnas. You do have, you know, girls out there, oh, no, I don't want to do this. But while I was there in TNA, we didn't have that. They all pulled together, and I've never seen this before. They all pulled together to support each other. So, and they did that, and it was very successful. I enjoyed my time there working with Gail and working with Awesome Kong and all of them, because I don't think we had that nitpicking back and forth. Oh, stay away from here. You probably had it. I just didn't hear it. But what I'm seeing here in AEW is they have these different little groups, and the little groups cling together and kind of support each other. If you have one girl come in, like what's her name? Lufinster? What's her name?
Lufisto.
Okay, Lufisto. Well, she came in, and, you know, if one girl didn't like him, then another girl didn't like her, another girl didn't like her. I mean, I don't think she had a chance anyway, if that's the way it's going to be. Yeah. So,
yeah,
I
and
feel
this
sorry
is
that happened. I don't know the girl.
we would be wrong to not tell both sides of the story, and that when the disparaging remarks from AEW talent, it was a lot of AEW talent that had experience with Lufisto on the independent scene, so she didn't have the best reputation going in. So I don't know if seeing her kind of reminded people of their past with her, and that's why they kind of worked to get her out of there. But she responded to all the AEW tweets that we saw earlier today, and she said, "Good that everybody at AEW got the memo to write as much shit on me as possible, so I can be seen as a waste of a human being, not worth living. Even people who never had a single conversation with me. Even better to see people I never did anything wrong being so desperate to get a job, jumping on the bandwagon. Soon I'll see you hypocrites be part of Be a Star and Mental Health Matters, advertisements, acting like you care. Enjoy your paychecks and keep on stabbing each other in the back, pretending this is normal. I can only hope that your hate towards me will get you to finally fucking work together for the best of women's wrestling now that problems have been called out. So many are miserable, frustrated, and will whisper their anger, but never will stand and speak up. I wanted to leave this world knowing women's wrestling was better. It was for a while, but not anymore. The sad part is that you accept it without saying a word. It is what it is. What a waste."
Well, again, I wasn't there, and I hate this happen to anybody in this business because we all have to work together. Hey, I've been around guys too. They do the same stuff, but women are worse. They really are, because they will nitpick and and not that much difference between a woman in real life and a woman back in the dressing room, except there's less of them and they cause more problems. They do. They cause a lot of problems, or they can. But that, I think, says more about AEW than it says about the girls, because they need leadership. They need direction. They need somebody to step up and take control of that group and say, if I hear about this, we're going to have a problem, and some of you could be gone. No, now, if I was in charge of that group, if I would have to say something like that, I got a problem, a big problem. Now you don't know who's going to report who's saying what, and then you turn into having a bunch of stooges, and that's what you don't want to have. You want to have a pride within that group, and the girls supporting each other, and everybody on the same page. But I think Tony needs. I think again, we can lay this right on the lap of Tony Khan. That division kind of runs on itself, I guess. And this is another thing wrong with the women's division in AEW. I was really big on this Willow Raven. What's her name? Willow. You know what I'm talking about?
Nightingale.
I was really high on her. Then you will see her one week, and then you won't see her again for, I don't know, a couple of weeks. And you'll see somebody else, and all of a sudden they're getting a little bit of a run. Then they just cut them off with no explanation of what's happening. I think they have too many girls, tell you the truth, and you can't make them all happy. So I hate this happened, but you got to get that group. You can't have a football team with a prima donna wide receiver. He wants the ball every time. Now, if you have a prima donna wide receiver and a prima donna running back, now they don't like each other. Then they keep pulling for somebody else, one of them to mess up, somebody to fumble, somebody to drop a pass. But that's not the way you win games. Your judges out there are the people who buy tickets and pay-per-views and merchandise. So if you're spending all your time fighting each other, you're missing the main crux of your whole business, and that is to attract fans. Anyway, I hope they straighten it out, but that's my That's my piece on it. And what did Dustin Rhodes say? I think the girl you said, she entered there without the best reputation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what has she done on the independent circuit? Have you heard anything about that?
I have friends that have worked on the independent circuit and it's just have bad experiences with her. They
With her?
didn't want to, yeah, they didn't want to like go into kind of details with everything, but I mean, I mean,
Hey, listen,
the best kind of tweet from basically AEW talent that a lot of people were getting behind, whether it's in AEW or otherwise, was MJF, who usually doesn't break character for these type of things, but he did here where he put out a tweet and he said, if you listen to miserable people who never made it in this sport, that's not exactly the brightest thing to do. Use your brain. If someone's been in professional wrestling for over a decade and you find them to be talented, but they've never truly, quote unquote, panned out, there's a reason for it. 1, lack of talent. 2, difficulty to work with. 3, delusional, just to name a few. People love to talk ill of companies and will say things like, I'm the only person who's brave enough to speak up. When in reality, the only reason you're spewing bullshit is because you are aware deep down you aren't going to make it. So what's the harm in spewing reckless lies and trying to hurt hardworking, talented people on your way down to obscurity? We have an amazing women's locker room. Sorry, not sorry.
Damn. Okay, that tells me that A&W as a unit got all their talent together and say, let's all attack this girl. Because all of a sudden, they just not going to say, oh, I'm going to attack this girl because I don't like what. No, they were ordered to or asked to, and they did it. So this is an orchestrated response to her. Now, again, I don't know the girl, but they want her voice. They want to censor her. They want to cancel her, and she may not even have a point. I don't know. AEW, if they would just do this, next time you have something like this, don't say shit about it. Don't say nothing, because the more you say, the more you stir fans up. And fans love this crap. They love this shit. Now they get to say, oh, the fans will start attacking each other on the little, bulletin lines or whatever they talk on. But I think the less said, it's better. So I don't understand the group think of let's all attack her, because it now looks like the whole company are they just said, hey, would you do this? So they say, oh yeah, I'll do it. I don't know. It's a weird. I didn't know. Seriously, I didn't know crap about this till you brought it up to me today. I said, and I had heard the girl's name, but I saw her work. I watched the tape of her work. She's a pretty good worker.
She is.
But that doesn't mean that you might be easy to work with in the back. So you got to have a backside. You got to have a front side to be successful. You could be the most talented person in the world, and actually the most talented person booking it, but you could be a miserable person to get along with. So, and I've had situations like that. It didn't last long because I just usually took a 2x4 and clubbed them over the head. And after I did that, I beat them into submission, and then they were a lot easier to deal with. I'm kidding.
Who was the most difficult person you had to deal with backstage?
Oh, a lot of them. I mean, most difficult person I ever had was just a one-match guy. And usually those were the bodybuilders that got in, and oh yeah, I got this body, man. Hulk Hogan is my favorite. Whoa, yay! After about 3-4 minutes, they have blown sky high. They're beating the crap out of you, and you think they're going to die. Then you hope they die. Then you want to die When none of that happened, you said, please take me out of this. There's a lot of guys that are not difficult, but don't want to do a lot of stuff. Early in my career, this guy, he was going to go over, and he says, and I said, why don't you just hook a small package? Oh no, man, I got to get my comeback in. I said, well, hell, you just made a comeback. Oh, that's not my comeback. I got to do this and this and this and this. I said, well, hell, I should beat you then. By God, after you do all that, you should be tired. I should just be, take you out. But he didn't want to do it, but he did do it because I said, that's what I'm doing. That's what the booker told us to do. So that's what I'm fucking doing. So you either do it or not. And if we change the finish, you're going to be the one explaining to him that you did it, not me. So he went and did it. And he was a miserable bastard. He was the guy that, listen, Jerry Lawler, he was in Memphis. Jerry Lawler gave him his notice one time. I can't remember this guy's name. Gave him his notice. And the guy refused to leave. What? And the guy said, yeah, he wouldn't take his notice. He said, I got to finish you up in 2 weeks. And the guy says, well, I'm not leaving. And Lawler had never heard, I've never heard of it either. Lawler says, well, yeah, I'm finishing you up. I'm not leaving. And Lawler, he was, I think this is one of his early years of booking. He said, well, you got to leave. I'm finishing you up. He said, well, I'm not going. And I finally asked Lawler, I said, how did it end up? And Lawler said it ended up saying, well, I'll book you as much as I can. I'll book you as much as I can. That's the best I can do. And he finally just stopped booking him, and the guy got the message. I never heard that before. Like a guy, like you're on a job, the guy says, well, this is your last day. Well, I'm not leaving. And then the next week you show up, and I don't know. Listen, we live in crazy times now. I think you've noticed. So, yes. But I've lived through a lot of crazy times. But anyway, I hope the LaFista situation.
LaFista.
I guess if I was AEW and Tony Khan, I'd tell everybody to shut up. Because you're giving that girl a forum. You're giving her a podium to speak from, and people will start listening to her. They actually did more for her career doing this than she's done in 20 years. Now I know who she is. Okay, continue. Ask me something else.
Yes, hopefully they work everything out, and hopefully no harm is done to anybody by anyone else, whether it's in words or, physical harm to yourself. We don't want to see any of that happen. So hopefully everything works itself out. But let's talk about tonight's episode of SmackDown finally, as it was the go-home show ahead of tomorrow night's WWE SummerSlam in Detroit, Michigan. They were in Ohio tonight for this show. Paul Heyman explained the history of the Tribal Chief ahead of Tribal Combat tomorrow night at SummerSlam. Heyman was in the ring and briefly insulted the crowd. He then said that this was the last thing Roman Reigns wanted to happen.
What did Paul Heyman say up early? Ladies, if there is such a thing in Ohio.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that was great. Okay, go ahead.
You say Ohio, and he shall come. Joining us from Detroit, though, not Ohio. It is our third of 3 of our trios champions here on Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge. It's Rick Ucchino. How you doing, Rick?
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me okay? I have to go off the computer mic because I didn't pack something. You got me?
Oh, the mic.
Yeah, the mic that plugs into my computer. I spent the last 5 minutes looking for it, and I can't find it. So hopefully I sound all right.
You sound fine.
Okay,
fine.
good.
How does he sound, Dutch?
How have you been, Rick?
I've been good, Dutch. Nice to see you get the computer up and running, and you look great. You look really good, Dutch.
Have you missed me?
Of course. In small
me and Sid missed you so bad. Actually, last week we broke down in tears at one point.
I believe it.
It was really touching and humbling for me. So I'm glad you're back.
It was like tears gonna run, and I'm wondering why. Got out of bed at all.
I am happy to be here with you guys. How's the show been so far?
We have not even gotten into tonight's SmackDown, so you came at the perfect time because we spent a lot of time talking about Lufisto's comments on AEW's women's division, which has been a lot of the chatter, a hot button issue in wrestling. But now we're talking about SmackDown, and we're going to talk about all the bloodline stuff as we usually do here on Smack Talk to get that out the way, and then you could run through like in 5 minutes the rest of the show. Paul Heyman comes out and he explains the history of tribal combat and the tribal chief. He says this is the last thing that Roman Reigns wanted to happen. Heyman told the fans to blame Jey Uso for most likely never seeing Jimmy Uso ever again. What happens to Jey Uso tomorrow won't be anyone else's fault but Roman Reigns, as there will be no remorse, regret, or plea for benediction. And Heyman threw to a history video package of the tribal kind of lay and the ceremonial lay, and it's called the Eula Fala. And we see comments from the Wild Samoans, Alpha and Sika, as well as Rikishi. And Heyman said the only rule in the tribal combat, it will be that there will be a winner. And basically they made it sound like the how to become a Black Panther. That's basically how they explained it to me. How I interpret it is how you become the Black Panther. You fight, no rules. You fight with the weapons. You don't have any powers. You fight and you become the Black Panther if you win. That's basically tribal chief. That's basically how I explained it in my head. But back to Heyman in the ring, who said Reigns is the undisputed Universal Champion and everyone's tribal chief for almost 3 years, something Jey Uso will never be. There's more to this segment, but just the video package within itself first. We'll start with Dutch. What did you think about the video package, kind of going over the lay, seeing kind of the legends of the family, the Wild Samoans, and Rikishi there?
Who is that question to? To Rick?
Dutch. It's always to you first.
Oh, I enjoyed this. I enjoy video packages. This is a go-home show. This is a wrap-up show. So they're putting all their stuff out there for the last time for the people to view. I think this whole show was good. I don't think there was one segment that was not interesting. May have been I may not have wanted to see it as much as the others, but it was a very good show and a great description of the bloodline and all their history and all their ancestry, bringing it forward. Good job. They did a good job of that.
Rick, what did you think about the video package?
I didn't get to see the video package per se. I was kind of working while the show was going on, so I was more listening than I was actually watching the video package. So I want to go back and I want to watch that later. But I did really enjoy the segment. Nobody helps sell anything in WWE as well as Paul Heyman does. He knocked it out of the ballpark with another great promo. I loved Jay getting involved in this as well, and this was a really strong go home segment heading into Tribal Combat. And SP3, if you really want your mind blown, just realize that Black Panther is really just the Lion King, which is really just Hamlet. So just throwing all that out there for you.
No, Mustafa didn't have to fight Scar to become the king. We literally did not have to watch that process. Like, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. You see the connection in Black Panther. As Rick said, Jey Uso would come out, make his way to the ring with a massive ovation. He says that he'll light up Reigns with stick chairs. He says he's the head of the table. He's gonna put him through a table. They'll bring everything he has tomorrow to beat Roman Reigns and become the new tribal chief. Then Solo Sikoa comes out. He's held back by Heyman. Jey tries to tell his brother the mind games don't work anymore, as he doesn't need to follow orders from Reigns. He's basically trying to talk some sense into his younger brother. Heyman told him to stop questioning whether Sikoa believed that or not, and Sikoa basically seemed to hesitate and look at him. Then he tells Heyman to get out. Heyman is hesitant and tries to stop, but then Jay comes in, pops him with the super kick, and then tells him he'll see him later. And that led to the main event, Jey Uso versus Solo Sikoa. Very physically intense kind of main event. I thought that these two did not hold anything back. Being brothers, they were very hard-hitting, very good main event matchup, with Jey Uso getting the win with a spear and the Uso splash, getting some much needed momentum ahead of Tribal Combat. And then after the match, Solo tried to attack Jey to weaken him, and Jey laid him out to stand tall to end the show. Dutch, did you think that they did a good job of creating doubt and putting a seed in fans' hands that Jey Uso can get the job done tomorrow night?
No, I think they increased it. You know, you're going to have those people that want to see Roman dethroned anyway, by any means available, which I think is a bad move. But they had a good match, and Solo got beat. It didn't hurt him at all. He's in the middle of the story. Having Paul Heyman with him is a great addition. I mean, he can take cow poop and make it seem like a big star sometimes. But I thought this whole show was good. And the last segment. See, because now WWE, they have you thinking, are they going to go against the grain or with the grain? So you don't know. And that's, to me, is the best thing you can have in wrestling. They're kind of unpredictable. And now I think they got the fans kind of thinking that way. But good segment. Good go-home segment. I agree with Rick.
So to open the show, though, they had LA Knight open the show to a big ovation, huge ovation from these fans. Look at Dutch's camera following him as he tries to move around.
Hey, this camera just started doing that. All of a sudden, it did it one day. I said, "What the hell?" And it kind of scared me. The camera's not supposed to do that, but I guess it is.
Knight talked about that it's now a 25-man battle royal at SummerSlam, the Sim Gym Battle Royal tomorrow night. The graphic showed that Knight has been confirmed, Sheamus, Shinsuke Nakamura, Karrion Kross, AJ Styles, Matt Riddle, Santos Escobar, Grayson Waller, and The Miz. Knight said that the graphic obviously wasn't everyone in it and ran down The Miz before insulting Sheamus. This led to the opening matchup between LA Knight and Sheamus. This was a pretty good matchup, solid affair for both of these guys. I thought LA Knight just massively over. Even Sheamus, who is over as a babyface with these fans, couldn't get them on his side against LA Knight. The finish comes when basically The Miz seemingly gets involved in the matchup. He's taken out by Sheamus with the 10 beats of the Bowery. Knight almost gets the win with a roll up, but then Sheamus goes for the bro kick and he hits it on The Miz, and LA Knight hits BFT for the win. Rick, what did you think about this opening contest here? LA Knight getting the win, and should LA Knight be the favorite going into SummerSlam tomorrow night?
Look, I think he has to be at this point because the biggest clue was Michael Cole on commentary, right? It's now canon. Like, everybody's complaints about LA Knight the last few months, myself and everybody else on this panel included, is, yeah, he's massively over, but if he doesn't start winning sooner rather than later, how much longer is that going to last? The guy's been a miracle worker to get as over as he is at this point without winning a damn thing and having months of bad booking. And now all of a sudden Michael Cole's like, now he's got to start winning matches, which to me tells me he's going to start winning matches. And he won tonight. Yeah, there was some BS involved, but they're trying to build a battle royal tomorrow. And yeah, 100% he should be. And he should be with WWE signing this largest ever partnership with Slim Jim and them getting a ton of money. LA Knight is the perfect spokesman. to take over that Macho Man Randy Savage role. He's 1980s wrestling personified. Snap into a Slim Jim. Yeah, like that needs to be the thing moving forward. It's LA Knight. Yes, go. There's his big push. Slim Jim is LA Knight's big push.
There you go. Do you agree, Dutch?
I agree. Hey, when you have a big corporate sponsor on your side, that kind of guarantees they're going to do something with you because they got some money backing them up and they're going to listen. But he is over big time. He came not out of nowhere. I knew he had talent. Everybody knew he had talent. But they've adopted him. The fans have adopted him as their own. And they're telling WWE, you're going to listen to us. You have to listen to us. And they're saying, you got to push this guy. We want to see him. We're going to respond to him. Now, WWE, since they're no longer living in a hearing impaired vacuum, they hear that. Apparently, Slim Jim heard it. So now he's got everything on his side now. So, and he can live up to it. And he's going to be a massive star. A lot more. Remember, guys, when he came out with the maximum male models? I said, oh my God, I keep bringing this up. Dead on arrival. They were dead before arrival. They didn't have to wait till they got there. They were already dead. And I think LA Knight saw that and said, guys, just take me out of this. I don't care what you do. Just don't put me with them. That's a guaranteed death. And I think they agreed with him, took him out. And he got over by getting beat. So what else at one of those creative sessions, they had to sit back. They said, wait a minute, this guy's getting over and we're beating him every week. So I got a great idea. What if we did something with him? Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's try it. And they did. And now look what a hot commodity they have on their hands.
It's working out for them. The opening contest with all the basically the battle royal participants being around ringside set up basically some fallout later on in the night. We got into a encounter between the OC and the Brawling Brute, which led to a backstage segment where even Sheamus and AJ Styles joined their stablemates in like an altercation between the two crews, and Adam Pearce made a tag team matchup of Butch and Rich Holland versus Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I think they got about 6-7 minutes here. It was fine for what it was, but it was really more used as a backdrop for the reintroduction of the Street Profits, who came out all suited and booted, new suit, even Angelo Dawkins, even buttoning up his blazer after laying the beat down on the Brawling Brutes and the OC, laying out both teams. And then afterwards, Bobby Lashley coming out to a huge reaction from the crowd who chanted, Bobby, Bobby, for this new group that he seems to be leading, whether it's Hurt Business 2.0 or hopefully a new name. What do you think about all of this, Rick? And what did you think about the reintroduction of the Street Profits?
Yeah, this is what I have been waiting for with the Street Profits. Where they got drafted is something that always stuck in my mind, is they got drafted so high by SmackDown and then they did nothing with them. Remember when they did like that big #1 contenders tag team gauntlet match and they were out before the first commercial break? And I'm going, what on God's green earth are you doing with these guys? You're not splitting them up. You're not setting up Montez for his big solo push that we've all been waiting 3 years for at this point. You're not doing anything with him in the tag team division. What's the plan here? And ultimately, it was with as much as Triple H has been in charge, it's been more the same. Patience is a virtue. Wait and see.
Who said it first? Patience.
Triple H does seem to have a plan. He doesn't always enact it when we think he should, and we tend to ask a lot of questions, and before you know it, boom, he slaps something like this on us. This is exactly the kind of new direction that the Street Profits needed. I'm assuming it's a heel turn, but if you noticed, much like us and myself cheering at home when they came out, that Dayton crowd tonight was happy. to see the Street Profits up on the stage, looking all sharp, looking all clean with Bobby Lashley. It seemed like everybody in that crowd were all thinking the same thing. At least we're on the same page with me in the fact of, yes, let's effing go. This is awesome. I'm going to cheer for this because this is something that I wanted to see. I'm intrigued. I'm bought in. I'm excited to see where this goes.
And it's something that can help all three and give SmackDown another stable after losing Imperium. And Imperium's been helping out Monday Night Raw since then. They did more SummerSlam hype as they did vignettes for the three participants in the WWE Women's Championship triple threat match. The first one was a vignette of Charlotte. She's on a yacht. She's enjoying the summer. She's talking about being in the biggest women's match in SummerSlam history. And she says she's not looking to beat Bianca Belair or Asuka tomorrow. They have to beat her. They show clips of all of her wins at SummerSlam and mention for the first time on air, I think, the fact that she's 5-0 at SummerSlam undefeated. That line honestly didn't. It seemed like though Charlotte had no interest in winning the title when she said that. That didn't make any sense. But Michael Cole called her a trailblazing superstar. Then we got both Asuka and Bianca Belair's vignettes later in the night. Asuka is at a training gym and she's punching a boxing bag and doing MMA training. And she's basically saying that it's not fair that she has to defend her title in a triple threat match. She says she beat Bianca. She's beaten Charlotte. She doesn't need to be in this triple threat match, but she's going to win the triple threat match and walk out the women's champion at SummerSlam. And then finally we get Bianca Belair, which comes off more like how like Charlotte's was more like a reality show. Asuka was more like a wrestling vignette. And then Bianca was a little bit of both. Because you have Bianca Belair kind of putting her gear together. They show her making her own gear. So that was like a reality show. Then they show her training. So that was like a wrestling vignette. And then she's cutting the promo talking about she's the EST. She has to get back what she deserves. KOD 1, 2, 3. She's winning at SummerSlam. It was simple yet fine. I won't even say effective. I can't even say very effective. It was just fine. For the go home segment, whereas I thought with kind of like what I thought on Raw with Cody and Brock, you got to kind of nail the go homes build when the build has kind of been so far. You got to kind of stick the go home build. Whereas Ronda and Shayna did that. I don't think these vignettes did that for this triple threat match. But what did you think, Dutch?
Did it make you want to see it anymore?
No, not at all.
Me either. I mean, it was a great package. It doesn't make me want to see it anymore. And I think what you mentioned about Charlotte, those type of interviews she did on the yacht and laid back, I think they're overdone. And I think when I see that, I go, oh, please do something else. Please do something. But I think they just should go in there. I think it'll be a hell of a match. I cannot even predict the winner. I'm going to say she retains is what I'm going to say. I don't see any reason why she wouldn't, because now she's got two girls chasing her, but they got to take care of each other. And that takes time. Remember, the new byline in WWE right now is patience. Eventually, you just keep studying something and you will come up, I would say 75% of the time, with a winning formula. Just take your time. Don't push it too soon. But it didn't make me want to see the match any more than I already want to see it. I think it's going to be a great match anyway, but didn't enhance my intrigue about going into it.
Rick, who you got tomorrow? Asuka, Charlotte, or Bianca?
Honestly, the more I think about the evidence to me points towards IYO Sky cashing in tomorrow. Like I just get that sense now, because they've fallen, especially with IYO, which we'll get into a little bit later. They've now fallen into the trope with her where she's starting to rack up losses, which is typically the MO for a Money in the Bank briefcase holder before they cash in. And I so much of this build has been centered around Bianca and Charlotte. that Asuka and the title seem like the big third wheel in this. So to me, this feels like this didn't feel like go home vignettes tonight. I agree with you at SP3. I thought individually they were all three great in their own way. And I actually really liked Charlotte's because it kind of gave me this sense of like after Rocky had won the title and he had like 10 or 12 title defenses, right? And like he's got all the confidence in the world and he's focused on all these other things. She's out there on a yacht. She ain't sweating anything. She's like, I'm 5-0 at SummerSlam. I'm a 14-time world champion. This is going to be a walk in the park.
She's definitely going to be
a walk in the park.
She's Apollo after retaining his title against Rocky in the first movie.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's good point. There's something along the line. There was a correlation in there somewhere, but that's the vibe that I got from it. And I feel like tomorrow she's going to walk away really, really pissed off, and it's going to be her and Bianca moving forward, and then it's going to be Io. Whether she successfully cashes in or not, it's going to be Io and Asuka moving forward. So I think Io is going to play a major part in this matchup tomorrow night.
Honestly, the only thing that this vignettes made me change is maybe my pick, because them acknowledging that Charlotte is 5-0 at SummerSlam is not good if you don't want to see Charlotte Flair win tomorrow night. We get a recap of Santos Escobar earning his U.S. title shot last week, along with the moment Rey Mysterio got injured on the dive. Michael Cole said Mysterio is considered day-to-day and suffered severe whiplash. Kayla Braxton is backstage with Austin Theory, who questions how Escobar won last week when the match was stopped. Theory hopes Mysterio is watching next week, so he's dedicating his win against Santos to him. And tonight, Theory will crush the dreams of Cameron Grimes after experiencing Austin Theory live. Although I did like the line of dedicating the win to Rey Mysterio. It's just something so bland about everything Austin. I feel like these are promos written out of the early 2000s by Austin Theory. Am I the only one? I don't know. It just feels like that. It just feels like I'm watching Rufus.
Did you see? You know, something we didn't bring up was the botch by LA Knight. Remember when he went up on the ropes and he came down?
Oh yeah, that was a bad botch.
He tried to go back up again, and then they got all messed up. And I thought Sheamus had like torn his knee out because it got trapped in that. I don't know. They're lucky. Those guys must be living right up there or something. I mean, they dodged injuries, but that was the botch of the night. But
the whole match fell off. It felt like it fell off the rails at that point too when that happened.
It did. Well, when he went up and he lost his balance and tried to get up there again. So, but they recovered from it, and that's what you have to do in wrestling. Not everything can go according to plan. You better be ready to adjust on a moment's notice, and they did. So I'm glad they did that. What are we talking about now?
So, I don't know what you were going from there, but it was Austin Theory then came out and he faced Cameron Grimes. Early on, Santos Escobar came out because during the opening matchup, Theory blasted Escobar, blindsided him on the outside. So Escobar came out looking for a little bit of revenge. This distracted Theory enough for Cameron Grimes to hit the cave-in and almost beat the U.S. champion in seconds. But Theory got his foot on the rope. I thought that was a great near fall and opening to the matchup. But then the matchup was basically non-existent after that. It was basically Cameron Grimes dominating, and then Austin Theory hit 2 moves and won.
Yep.
Went like 5.5 minutes. It was fine. This is a lot of the wrestling on the show. My description of it was fine. It was fine. Yep. It was there.
SP3, to your point, since he beat John Cena at WrestleMania, something just seems off about Austin Theory, and I can't pinpoint it. I can't pinpoint it. Like there needs to be a change. There needs to be. It's just been like status quo after. He just seems like a guy. He just seems like a guy anymore. They used him more to enhance Pretty Deadly ahead of Kit Wilson's injury than anything. He hasn't had a title defense on a premium live event since he beat John Cena. It's almost like Cena's promo has become a self-fulfilling prophecy, to steal one of your lines. and made Cena's promo against him seem worse and worse by the day. And I still don't understand why he decided to do it. It feels like Santos Escobar needs to win next weekend. Like there needs to be a change. There needs to be an upgrade in that United States title picture. Santos can get a big boost by doing that. If it's not going to be LA Knight down the road, but I think Santos winning that would be great for him to continue his progression, and it would give Austin Theory a new direction to go. Like he's still very, very talented. Just whatever they're doing with him right now, it's not working. And I can't pinpoint what it is exactly.
I'm agreeing with you. He's missing the mark somewhere. He's not landing. And I can't quite pinpoint it either. There's just something missing, and they're going to start looking for it. So let's hope they find it. And they gave him a little bit of a change. 5-6 weeks ago, he came out and changed his appearance and his outlook. But I think
he's been changing his gimmick since he failed the cash-in last year, basically.
Yeah,
well,
his gimmick off and on.
Well, he's sitting there in a car, and it's idling, and he's not racing the engine. He's just sitting there. So we'll see what they do. That's up to them. I don't know what to do with it.
I mean, maybe they're doing it on purpose because it feels like for the last 2 years, pretty much since he got up to the main roster, he's been so heavily featured. Maybe they just decided let's put him in cruise control for a little bit and give some other folks some time to shine. Maybe that was done on purpose. And by comparison, it just feels like he doesn't feel as big of a deal because he has been so heavily featured leading up to WrestleMania, to where even the slightest bit of a drop off is gonna have that kind of effect.
That's a damn good answer.
It's gonna be noticeable because of that as well. So someone who's really been getting the TV time that Austin Theory used to get is Grayson Waller, and he had another edition of the Grayson Waller effect with special guest Damage Controls, Bailey, and Miss Money in the Bank IYO Sky. Waller asks if Sky was going to cash in her Money in the Bank contract tomorrow night. Before Sky could answer, though, Bailey said all the idiots will have to wait for Sky's decision, where we hear laughing from Shotzi throughout the arena as Bailey gets scared, but it was Waller who was behind it, crackling at Bailey's reaction. Bailey says she's not scared, but then Shotzi's music hits, and then Bailey says, ha ha ha, she doesn't fall for it, but Waller says he's not behind it. We see someone come out on a tank, and Bailey basically tells IYO to go run up on them. She runs up, but then she realizes that something's different, and then Shotzi appears from behind Bailey. She attacks her, and she's got a fanny pack with clippers in it, and she's trying to cut Bailey's hair. She runs after Bailey. IYO is in the ring, and then in disguise as Shotzi was Zelina Vega, setting up our next matchup. It's Zelina versus IYO. Zelina scored a victory over IYO in the lead up to Money in the Bank, and then this time she scored another win over Miss Money in the Bank after IYO looked like she was dominating, went for over the moonsault, but then Shotzi and Bailey came fighting out by the entranceway. Shotzi got the better of Bailey and went to cut her hair. Bailey was able to escape, but that distracted IYO long enough for Zelina to hit the code red for the victory here. Rick, you mentioned it earlier. Zelina getting another win over IYO. Do you think did that make you more positive that IYO is going to cash in tomorrow night? And do you think that that's going to be kind of further set up? And what did you think about the latest in this program between Shotzi and Bailey?
Shotzi looks really good with short hair, doesn't she? Like she's got a really good look, and like it's not like she had a bad look beforehand, but I don't know. I like this crazy, unhinged, short-haired Shotzi. It just works for me. It's a different. She's always been kind of unhinged, but now it's like they've cranked it up to 11 to steal a Spinal Tap reference there, but. I liked Grayson Waller punking Bailey. It's like he'll poke fun at anybody, heels, baby faces. He doesn't care. I liked that. And then when her music hit and he genuinely like the smile goes away from his face, and he's like, no, for real, I had nothing to do with this. And it's like, Shotzi was coming out from somewhere. I thought this was very well set up. Yeah, but the more that IYO loses, because she massive distraction. It felt like she was up on the top rope for like 3 minutes watching what Shotzi and Baylor was doing. It's like, you got a match, like focus on that. But it always comes down to a timing thing with some of these things that they attempt to do. If they just sped it up a little bit, it would be better. But I do think the more that IYO loses, the closer we get to her cashing in, which I wouldn't necessarily want her to cash in tomorrow, to be honest, because she's only had it for a month. Let's elongate this out a little bit more.
Yeah, Shotzi with the haircut reminds me, Dutch, of your time in TNA. Roxy Laveau, remember her? Remember when she got her haircut? That kind of what Shotzi reminds me of. What do you think about the new look for Shotzi, her program with Bayley and Zelina getting the win here?
Well, the real reason that she cut her hair, I respect, but she does look different. And she may have, I don't know if it makes her prettier or not. I don't know that, but I've always been leery of going out with girls with butch haircuts. There's something about them. I don't know, but where'd you go? He's up to something.
I'm here.
But this is what I'm going to say. I have no idea what they're going to do tomorrow, and that's good. So, are we back on? And again, that's why we watch wrestling. I want to see how they produce it and how they carry it out. So I'm going to watch that just like a fan, because I don't think she should cash it in. I don't. I think I'm with Rick there. Let it drag out a little more. Just because you have money in the bank, briefcase, doesn't mean you should cash it in all of a sudden. Take your time, and because now it gives the announcers something to say week after week after week, and you could cash it in. You know what? You never see anymore. You never see any title changes on a live event, ever. But when you used to see them back in the territorial days, the cameras were there, always. So you could actually do a hell of a title change in a big live event arena and then play it back on Raw or SmackDown, and it is something different. See, I think the title change is now reserved for the pay-per-views, basically, and it's okay. You still get the same result, but I think they should change it up once a year, maybe. So it's almost like anything can happen, and I think WWE almost has people in that state of mind now that you don't know what's going to happen.
Very true. But we shall see what's going to go down tomorrow night, Detroit, Michigan, Ford Field. Rick Ucchino will be there for WWE SummerSlam 2023. Like I said earlier, me and Dutch previewed and gave our predictions for the entire card. All 8 matches. You can check that out. Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge right now. Check that out after we're done here. Rick, we thank you for being on location and joining us. Let the people know where they can follow you on social media, what you got going on across the spectrum, even though they're going to be missing you on the Collision Review over on Fightful tomorrow.
Yeah, well, actually, that Collision Review got moved to Sunday, so they're going to do a Sunday recap because, SummerSlam's going on tomorrow night, but I'm still not going to be on it because I'll be driving back to Cincinnati. Regardless, yes, so today was a very, very busy day. Went to the SummerSlam press junket and talked to a number of superstars, including Shayna Baszler. I'll have an article and a video dropping with her tomorrow. Spoke to Cody Rhodes earlier as well. That is already out right now. One Stop Shop is on Twitter at Rick Ucchino, spelled just like you see it right there. Right now, you can check out what I talked to Cody Rhodes about today, and then my conversation with Shayna Baszler will drop tomorrow morning.
Dutch, you're always a busy man. You got your podcast, and you're going to be on one of the best podcasts in the world tomorrow, I hear.
That's what they say. What's the name of that podcast? Can you say it?
True. It's only True Hill Heat. It's only in my literal freaking
Oh, I can see it.
tag right
Yes,
there.
I'm gonna.
True Hill
I'm
Heat.
gonna be. Yes, I'm gonna be there with you. What time does it start? 11 in the
11:05
morning.
a.m. Eastern time.
What time does SummerSlam start?
8 o'clock.
8 p.m. 8 p.m.
Okay, so
We'll be done way
yeah,
before.
I'm gonna be on there with you, Sid. We can talk about Rick. You're one of our favorite subjects, Rick, to tell you the truth. And people can find me, Dirty Dutch Mantell, with 2 L's, at gmail.com, and at Dirty D Mantell on X. You know, they changed Twitter. Now it's X. For whatever reason, I don't know.
You know,
So-
you know what's weird about that? Like, you used to ask people, "Hey, are you on Twitter? Hey, are you on Twitter?" Are we supposed to say, "Hey, are you on X now?" Because that means something completely different.
Yeah. Say it. Say it. You on X? You on X? Because you're supposed to say you on E. It's not E. It's not X. It hasn't been X for a while. Now we replacing X with Twitter. You can follow me on X at True Heel SP3 for podcast listeners. That's TRU, no E, and it's the same thing for the YouTube channel, True Heel Heat Wrestling YouTube channel. We're going live tomorrow, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be myself, Romeo, True Draw Josh, and Dutch Mantell will be joining us live to talk about this week WWE SmackDown and Raw, as well as Vince McMahon under federal investigation again. We're going to be talking all about that with Dutch, and we'll also talk about this week in wrestling from AEW and New Japan after Dutch is gone from us as well. But join us live for that, and of course, join us live here on the Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel every single Friday following SmackDown. We will see you next Friday right here on Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge YouTube channel. Drop the like, comment down below. Tell us what you thought about this week's SmackDown. What do you think about AEW Women's Division and more. For Rick Ucchino, for Dutch Mantell, it is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Smack Talk. We're out.